Hey guys, so this is going to be my sort of August-September book wrap-up. I read one of these books, I think, in the month of August, and then the other two were in September. I will first of all say I am not a super fast reader, so I see all these, what I read in, September or August wrap-ups or whatever, where people have read like 10 books, and to me that's just not realistic for me because I read slowly, and usually I tend to read bigger books. This time I don't think they're not big books, they're pretty quick reads, but one of them took me a while, and I'll explain that too. So anyways, let's get into it. These are the books that I read in August/September. Alright, so the first book is by an author that I would probably consider one of my favorite modern authors. It's funny because I used to sort of not say that she was a favorite author, even though I've read a ton of her books, because I'd really only read one series of hers, and that's the Pink Carnation series. And then I picked this book up at a local used bookstore, and it was on my shelf for a while, and I was sort of like, I don't know if I want to read that, I'm not really sure. And then I finished The Passion of the Purple Plumeria, which was the last book that was out at the time, and the next book in the series has since come out, but I have not picked that one up yet. But it was before that one had actually been released. So I wanted to read another Lauren Willig book because I really like her style and I like her character development. But since another one of the Pink Carnation books wasn't out yet, I decided that I would go ahead and read this one since I had it on my bookshelf, and it's The Ashford Affair by Lauren Willig. And the funny thing is, I think this is probably my favorite of her books. It's it's not super different from the way that her Pink Carnation series is written, but it is. If you didn't know it was by the same author, you would figure it out because her writing style. But the thing about this one is that I thought that the characters were really interesting, and it was definitely a departure, and you got to see, I guess, different sides of her writing, and I just thought it was really good. I read through it pretty fast, and it left me wondering sort of more about these characters, and not in a she left things unfinished sort of way, but in a I just thought her characters were so interesting that I was like, man, I want to know more about these people's lives. This one is a one-off book, so there won't be like a sequel or anything as far as I know, but it's definitely very good, and if you're looking for a fun sort of quick historical read, this is a good one. The next two are part of a series. And I'd had these on my bookshelf probably, I want to say I got them for Christmas like 2 years ago, and I was inspired to add them to my wish list by Elle Fowler, All That Glitters 21, or I don't know what her vlog channel is, the one that she does all of her glitteratures on. But I was inspired to pick them up because of her, because she talks so highly of them, and then I kept seeing more about them, and I was like, maybe I'll put them on there. It sounds like something I'd like. The first one, and it's the Maze Runner Trilogy. The first one, so I didn't hate this book, I'll say that. I feel like if this had been a one-off book, I would not feel the way I do about it. It was pretty good. It definitely was something that gripped me, and I wanted to read more. I wanted to know what was happening. I had all these questions, and I wanted them answered. And then we got to the end of the book, and pretty much half of my questions weren't answered. It was like watching a season of Lost, where you end up with more questions than answers at the end of the book, and it was just frustrating. And so I got to the end of the book, and I was like, well, I guess now I have to read the second one. But one of the things that really frustrated me, I think, is that, so without giving anything away, because you find it out in the first couple of pages, everybody that enters the maze or the glade or whatever has their memory wiped, and so they don't really know who they are or anything about their backstory. And while it is used as a plot sort of point, to me, it sort of felt like a cop-out. Like the author was like, I'll wipe their memories so that I don't have to build a backstory, so that I don't have to develop these characters. Because I didn't feel like, after reading this entire book, that I knew any more about the main character, Thomas, really, than I did in the first maybe 5 chapters. Like, we found more about how he reacted to situations, yeah, but we didn't really know who he was or why we should care what happens to him. And so, because I didn't hate this book, I decided to read the second one, The Scorched Trials. This book is probably why I only read 3 books between August and now October, because it was so slow. It was slow, it was painful, and basically I got to the point where I was like, I don't care if these kids live or die. I don't like them. I don't even know who they are. I'm not attached to any of them. And it was like every time they threw a plot, it was like, one of the seasons of Lost was terrible, and everybody, like, they lost a lot of viewership at that point, and it was sort of like, this is awful, why am I still watching? I felt that way about this book. It was awful, and I kept being like, why am I still reading this? So much so that I'm not going to finish the series. I actually went online and Googled the plot just so I could find out what the big, culmination of this was. And when I read it, I literally went, what the hell? Because honestly, if I had wasted my time reading the 3rd book and then it got to that ending, I would have been like, I just wasted however many hours of my life. Because honestly, it's ridiculous. I'm sure many of you have read the Maze Runner Trilogy, and some people may feel differently about it, because I know a lot of people like this series, but to me, I wish I'd stopped at book 1. If I'd stopped at book 1, I probably wouldn't feel like this is a giant waste of time, and honestly, yeah, I don't think anybody needs to waste their time reading this series. I will not be seeing the movie because, frankly, I don't care about these characters. So that's it. And I would love to hear what you guys have been reading this month. I hope that this next month I read more than 3 books, but we will see, because I know at least the next week is going to be very hectic. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm a very slow reader, so 3 books in a month is pretty realistic for me. Yeah, I will see you guys later, and let me know what you guys have been reading, or if you have any book recommendations. And if you've read the Maze Runner Trilogy, I would love to hear what you think about it, and about the ending, because frankly, I think it's silly. That is all. I'll see you guys later. Bye!